Welcome to the Elon Musk Signal channel. The space race has always been a hot topic, attracting the attention of scientists and the public alike. In this thrilling race, two prominent names stand out: seasoned Boeing and the ambitious newcomer SpaceX. However, contrary to many predictions, SpaceX has unexpectedly surpassed Boeing, becoming the primary provider of regular crew transportation services to the International Space Station for NASA. This not only brings joy to SpaceX fans, but also serves as a valuable lesson for companies in the aerospace industry. So why did Boeing take so long to develop a spacecraft capable of carrying astronauts? Let's explore this on the Elon Musk Signal channel in this video. A decade ago, if someone had told NASA SpaceX would build a vehicle to transport astronauts to the International Space Station before Boeing, they would likely have been laughed at and shown the door. In 2014, NASA contracted both companies to develop spacecraft. SpaceX, the younger company, successfully delivered Crew Dragon first and has been ferrying astronauts into orbit since 2020. Meanwhile, Boeing struggled with Starliner, akin to a game of whack-a-mole, as they tackled successive technical issues, the latest being a small helium leak in the service module. Fortunately, first crewed flight was eventually successful. This accomplishment not only fulfills NASA's long-awaited expectations, but also satisfies the scientific community and space enthusiasts. Until now, the reasons behind the struggles of a seasoned company like Boeing with its spacecraft, leading to several years of delays, remain unclear. The responses from Boeing's leadership sometimes only add to the confusion. Mark Nappy, Boeing's Starliner program director, once said, "There have been some surprises along the way that we've had to overcome, so I can't point to any one specific thing. This is a typical design and development program, and we've done well to get everything to this point." However, audiences continue to question why a newcomer like SpaceX could outpace the aerospace giant Boeing in the space race. 10 years ago, NASA placed its bets on both the familiar workhorse Boeing and the ambitious newcomer, Elon Musk's rocket company SpaceX, to create a commercial space taxi market. The contract with SpaceX was valued at $2.6 billion, while Boeing's reached $4.2 billion. Choosing Boeing with the higher price tag was understandable. At the time, Boeing had embarked on developing a new spacecraft, coupled with its extensive experience collaborating with NASA since the early days of the Mercury project in the late 1950s. However, the race unfolded in an unexpected manner. SpaceX, a young and passionate company, reached the finish line first with Crew Dragon, sending humans into orbit since 2020. Meanwhile, Boeing continued to struggle with Starliner, encountering persistent technical setbacks. After retiring the space shuttle in 2011, NASA had to rely on hitching rides on Russian Soyuz rockets launched from Kazakhstan to send astronauts into space. Though tolerable, cost of $86 million per seat was a hefty price tag for the US. But as we know, the relationship between the US and Russia isn't always smooth. Fortunately, this dependency ended when SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft passed all safety certification tests to carry astronauts into space. However, NASA never intended to put all eggs in one basket. After the Columbia disaster, the US took 2.5 years to resume spaceflight. The agency always wanted at least two providers to ensure there's always a backup plan if the Federal Aviation Administration suspends operations of one for any reason. This perspective remains even as the International Space Station is slated to cease operations in 2031. Last year, the need for a Plan B became clearer than ever. A leak aboard the space station forced NASA to consider contingency plans, evacuating all astronauts back to Earth using a single SpaceX spacecraft in case of emergency. What if something unfortunate happens to the Dragon spacecraft, and we have to rely on Russia to transport astronauts again? I'm not sure if the American public would have the patience to accept that again. The dream of sending people into space with Starliner had been significantly delayed compared to the plan. First crewed flight was scheduled 7 years ago. About 2 years later, in December 2019, Boeing was ready for Starliner's first unmanned journey to the International Space Station. However, the spacecraft never reached its destination due to a software glitch that sent it into the wrong orbit. Starliner had to return to Earth without completing its mission. After a 7-month investigation, NASA requested Boeing to implement 80 corrective actions before it could fly again. Meanwhile, SpaceX completed manned tests that Boeing had planned to conduct in early June. The troubles didn't stop there. Boeing planned another unmanned test flight, scheduled for 2021. Ironically, engineers discovered corrosion in over 12 valves in the propulsion system. Replacing these parts pushed the launch schedule to May 2022. The second spaceflight of Starliner went smoother. The spacecraft reached the International Space Station and returned safely to Earth. However, hardware issues persist. Just before Boeing was ready to test the spacecraft with astronauts, glitches surfaced during tests in 2023, leading to further delays. This included a test of the emergency parachute system for the new parachutes. Starliner program director Mark Nappy mentioned the team also replaced about 1.6 kilometers of tape covering wiring inside the spacecraft because it was deemed flammable. This spring, everything seemed to be on track as Boeing resolved previous technical issues. Test pilots prepared to fly on May 6th, but Boeing once again had to abort the countdown due to a malfunctioning oxygen pressure valve on the rocket. The issues didn't end there. The engineering team replaced the faulty valve, but also discovered another small helium leak on the rubber seal of the service module on the spacecraft. After assessment, the company stated that if this leak worsened, it could still be addressed in space. The U.S. Space Force weather forecasters indicated favorable weather conditions for the launch on Saturday, 90%. Despite the prior setbacks, NASA officials stated the spacecraft had been thoroughly tested and was ready for launch. Jim Free, the official in charge, emphasized that the safety of astronauts Williams and Wilmore, as well as other astronauts on the station, was the top priority. Finally, on June 6th, Starliner had the opportunity to soar into the sky, carrying astronauts Williams and Wilmore safely to the International Space Station. Though there are still some technical issues to be addressed, I believe they will be handled well. Boeing was once the star of the U.S. aerospace industry. Currently, they are striving to regain their position in a vastly different environment. Despite facing many challenges, Boeing still possesses a team of talented engineers and is improving capabilities that few companies or nations can match. It's hard to find any space exploration program that is flawless and doesn't encounter challenges. This is definitely a difficult path, but it doesn't mean Boeing isn't a promising company. They can prove their capabilities in the near future. Let's wait for more updates. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments on today's broadcast. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with interesting information. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.